Hey, what's good, family? Good morning and welcome to all of you who are joining us. Thank you so much for being a part of this East Worship experience. It's a new month. That means there's a new opportunity for God to do and show us great things. Let's go into the worship experience.
Let me tell you about Carter G. Woodson, who was born on December 19, 1875 in New Canton, Virginia, to parents that had been enslaved. As a black boy growing up in Central Virginia during the late 19th century, he had a few educational or employment opportunities. In pursuit of a new life, he and his family moved to Huntington, West Virginia, where he worked in the New River Gorge coal fields to help supplement his family's income. Although he did not begin his formal education until he was almost 20 years old, his dedication to study enabled him to earn a high school diploma in West Virginia, his first undergraduate degree from Berea College in Kentucky, and bachelor and master's degrees from the University of Chicago in just a few years. In 1912, Woodson became the second African American to earn a PhD at Harvard University. As the nation's first professionally trained historian of African descent, or as a black man, Woodson institutionalized the study of African American history, and from his home located at 1538 9th Street Northwest in the heart of the Washington, D.C. Shaw neighborhood, he directed the operations of his organization, the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, and he also ran the publishing company, the Associated Publishers. Woodson was also a member of the greatest fraternity of them all, the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Early in the fraternity's history, a meeting was convened to discuss the fraternity's field of emphasis, as it were. At this meeting sat several Omega luminaries, including the Reverend Colonel Charles Young, a West Point graduate, Garnet C. Wilkinson, Woodson, and John H. Burnell, who actually suggested a program that stressed Negro history. Burnell admitted that the idea came to him upon hearing a stirring address delivered by Woodson at the fraternity's 9th annual conclave held in 1920 in an auditorium at Meharry Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee. Woodson was at the time Dean of West Virginia Institute. In his remarks, Carter G. Woodson urged the college man to give less attention to social affairs and devote more time to the study of Negro life. Such knowledge, he maintained, would produce an increase in the number of competent Negro leaders. It would inspire race pride in the masses as a whole. Hence, in 1921, the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated initiated a program called Negro History and Literature Week to be held in April of every year. The program was hugely popular on black college campuses across America, and this completes our first segment of What You Know About Black History Month.
Hey family, it's time for us to enter that part of the worship experience where everyone can participate. This is our time to give back, to give into the work of ministry. Haven't we enjoyed all that we've experienced so far? Even though this is virtual, well, this takes work, and every dime that you give goes to the work of ministry to make sure that we put forth quality broadcasts, to ensure that we are helping to vaccinate and test our community for that dreaded COVID-19, to make sure that we're still feeding, that we're still meeting people's needs, to make sure that we are doing those things that God has called us to do, to seek the salvation of those we meet and to stand for justice for those who can't speak up for themselves. And so I want to invite you now to consider what God uses your church, this church, to do, New Canaan and Elm Grove. And please give back according to the way that God has blessed you. If you give electronically, I'd encourage you to take out your device right now and give what God puts on your heart to give. If you're the one and you like to write the check or put the cash in the envelope, we invite you to do so. You know where to find us. Again, I want to assure you that when you give, the money, the seed that you sow, goes to produce good fruit in our communities. right, here we go. Let's get into the Word of God for the day. Since this is the beginning or our first Sunday in this month that is dedicated to the study of Black history, let's get into the Word. Our subject matter today is black butterfly. I want you to hear that again. Our subject is black butterfly. Join me, if you will, in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 12 through 18. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 12 through 18. Now, 2 Corinthians is the one that's in the New Testament, not 2 Chronicles that's in the Old Testament. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 12 through 18. I'll read from the New International Version. Therefore, since we have such a hope, we are very bold. We are not like Moses, who would put a veil over his face to prevent the Israelites from seeing the end of what was passing away. But their minds were made dull, for to this day the same veil remains when the old covenant is read. It has not been removed, because only in Christ is it taken away. Even to this day, when Moses is read, a veil covers their hearts. But whenever anyone turns to the Lord, the veil is taken away. Now pay attention to these two verses. Verse 17. Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into his image with ever increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. I want you to hear that again, verses 17 and 18. Or if you're reading along, check it with us. Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is, that's right, freedom. And we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into his image with ever increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. Black butterfly. Let's take this journey together. At some point and at some time or another, I'm sure that we have all witnessed and experienced the wonder of God in the beauty and in the carefree living of the butterfly. The butterfly is proof of the existence of God. I mean, who else but God could put such graceful movement into an insect? Who else but God could bring the various color, every color imaginable, into the presence of one small insect? The various species of the butterfly lets us know that God's imagination is in full effect in his creation, and especially in our lives. And I know that we don't pay much attention sometimes, but I want you to consider not just the very colorful butterflies, but consider the majesty. Consider, if you will, the freedom of the black butterfly. I know we've been taught to avoid everything that's black. We've been taught that black is no good. We have been taught even that black is evil. When you consider what God does and did with the black butterfly, you will witness the stunning, stylish, and elegance of a tiny insect that gives witness to the power of the Creator. And I don't bring the matter up just to have a discussion about insects. I don't think we need to have a study of ethnology in the sermonic moment. But I think we ought to talk about it in this month that is dedicated to the study of black history, because there are some powerful lessons that we can learn if we pay close attention to the black butterfly. In the first instance, I would tell you, are you with me? Let's take this journey together now. In the first instance, I would tell you that the black butterfly teaches us the power of self-identity. Say that with me, the power of self-identity. See, if you'd allow me to give you the domain remix of those last two verses in our paragraph, verses 17 and 18, I would simply say to you that it means for us, it is what it is, and we are who we are. Did you hear that? It is what it is, and we are who we are. In other words, we can pay attention to the way the Sounds of Blackness and all of their genius sang about it. They said, you can't be another color butterfly. Yes, so spread your wings and fly. It is an admonishment, if you will, to take pride in what God has made of us. Don't go to sleep on me. I promise you we're going somewhere. See, one of the tragedies and the few accomplishments that we have achieved in this new world and in the accumulations that we have garnered for ourselves as individuals that should be a part of a people in this new world is the fallacious idea that we have to change ourselves or that we have to fit in order to receive. And so you know how that works, right? So we go through these kind of tragic transitions from changing the rhythm and the tone and the patterns of our speech to drastically altering our physical appearance, to avoiding and disassociating with our own kind, to the denial of our roots, our lineage, and our heritage, all because we think that's what it takes to be accepted, to be accepted. Come closer, right? And I would tell you, just like the song says, to keep your pride. You can't be another color butterfly, no matter how hard you try. From sun to sun, you're still going to be black and beautiful. You can't change, baby. No matter how hard you try, you're still going to carry the DNA of those who rose from the worst atrocities to give the world the very best in all things. You can't change. You're still the possessor of God's gift of eternal life. Are you still with me? I'm trying to get you to see that you don't have to change, baby, because you're still influenced by a culture that could not be killed by the Me'afa. You know, that's the tragedy of them going in and kidnapping our ancestors, of the Middle Passage, of the enslavement of all of its inhumane treatment, of the failed reconstructions of American apartheid, and in the miseducation of your people, and you still giving the world the very best that it has ever seen. You can't change. You still have the right kind of rhythm. You're still overcoming and conquering. You're still turning the worst into the best. You're still salting the earth, and you're still letting your light so shine. And when you got it like that, baby, you don't have to change for anything or anybody. Come closer. Come closer. Because if enough of us would live and operate with that kind of knowledge and from that standard, if enough of us would embrace the strength and the innovation that God has given to us, we would not have to go begging anybody for anything. The world would have to come to you. Don't you remember that Moses said in the book of Deuteronomy, the Lord will open to you his good treasure, the heavens, to give the rain to your land in its season, and to bless all the work of your hand. You shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow, and the Lord will make you the head and not the tail. You should be above only and not beneath. God made you into what he wants you to be. You don't have to change. In fact, I would suggest to you that God didn't design us to live transitionally. God designed us to transform. Oh, you got to hear that again. God did not make us, create us, design us to live transitionally. God made us to be or to live a transformed life. May I explain myself? Well, look at it. Be careful to recognize that the butterfly doesn't start out as a butterfly. Those of you who paid attention in your high school biology classes will remember that the butterfly goes through 4 stages called a metamorphosis, right? It starts as the egg, moves into the larva, becomes the pupa, and then it becomes an adult butterfly. It's a process that Paul tried to explain to the Romans when he said to them, don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. See, don't miss that what Paul was explaining to the Romans, and it's true for us today, that the metamorphosis, unlike the butterfly, for us is the result of purposeful decisions and dedication. In other words, we have to decide that the stage we're on right now is not the stage where we want to end. We have to decide that we're not satisfied with immature existence and infantile consciousness. We have to decide that we want to change. Catch it. This is more than adapting to one's environment. This kind of metamorphosis means to change form and shape. It means to grow into something other than you were when you started. I want you to picture this. Get it in your imagination. The old people would say your mind's eye. Picture the butterfly that starts at one stage. It's an egg. And then the next stage is a form that does not resemble what it shall be, right? That's the caterpillar looking thing. And then the butterfly goes into sort of a chrysalis such that it's crowded into a covering that looks like it doesn't give it room to grow. And so when the time is right, in the fullness of time, the butterfly fights its way out of the chrysalis until finally it is fully realized in all of its majesty. See? I know I got you now, because there are probably some of you right now who realize that even in a metaphorical sense, you're at one stage or another in that process which we just described. Now, now you recognize that you are not quite what you were, but you are not quite what you know you're going to be. See, it's just an example. Is just an example for us, that no one reaches the maturity or realizes the fullness of self without going through, not avoiding, without going through some difficulties, without going through some challenges, some adversities, and some tests, all of which are meant to make us strong enough, to fight through that which tries to hold us back in the process. See, don't let anybody fool you. They didn't just pop up like that. When you see a butterfly, what you witness is one with wisdom and vision and understanding, with strength and courage, with internal and external discernment that they had to fight through some things to gain. Yes. See, it takes going through some things. It takes playing the fool sometimes. It takes going through the challenges and the test of your determination and your fortitude. It takes proving to the adversaries that you are wrong about me. It takes sacrificing comfort and ease for what is necessary to advance your cause. I guess what I'm trying to get us to see and agree upon is that it won't be easy, but we will do it. You better hear me. It will not be easy, but we will do it because God has gifted us with brilliance and versatility. Ooh, I like that. God has set it upon you, set it upon us as a people with brilliance and versatility. See, the black butterfly teaches us the power of improvisation and agility. I hate to be the bearer of some unsettling news at this point, But I need to tell you that we won't be able to always move in a linear or in a straight direction. See, it's because there are those who are out there who don't want you to realize who you are and whose you are. We will all encounter those who will try to hinder our progress and our production. I know it's hard for you to believe but there are some people who, quite frankly, don't want to see you prosper, and they don't want to see you in good health. And besides that, life and living in this earthly realm will sometimes cause you to have to move differently. Did you hear that? Life and living will sometimes cause us to have to move differently. It will cause us to have to adjust to what is rather than what we thought it was. It will cause us sometimes to move in a different direction. I think I have your attention now, so I may as well tell you that sometimes the shakeback will require eliminating and moving some people out of your concentric circle. In other words, sometimes you got to shake up the squad. You may have to examine yourself such that you're not so predictable all the time, and spend your coins differently, and use your time differently, and reprioritize such that some things that were on the background will be moved to the forefront, and some things that are in the forefront will be removed from your priority list altogether. You know, like I know that sometimes we have to live and move and have our being in the manner that a soulful jazz musician handles his or her instrument with improvisation. We have to live, move, and have our being in the way that the greatest cooks don't need a written recipe. We have to live, move, and have our being in the way that a dope MC doesn't use written down rhymes. We have to live, move, and have our being in the way that the real DJs don't have a playlist when they show up. So you have to learn to improvise sometimes. Somebody say improvise. You got to improvise. Somebody say improvise. Improvise sometimes. You have to feel what's happening. You got to be in the moment for the moment. You don't have to see it first, and you don't have to study it first. Sometimes you just have to move by the way that you are led. Sometimes you got to move according to what's happening in the moment. See, don't worry about whether or not you'll be ready. You will be ready. I know I'm right because, you're already practicing the rudimentary routines. You're already ready because you're maintaining the proper lifestyle. You're already ready because your motives are pure. You're already ready because your habits are righteous. You're already ready because, because God is working with you. So when the moment comes, you'll be straight. Did you hear that? When the moment comes, you will be straight. See, I've already told you. I already told you that there will be some instances in your life when you're dealing with situations and circumstances and people that cause us to improvise. You just have to say, all right, bet, right? Because everything is not going to be smooth. Everything will not go in a straight line, but you got to show I can't be stopped. I won't be stopped. I bet. The other thing I'd like to tell you is that improvisation requires agility. Did you hear that? Improvisation requires agility. See, just like the greatest, Muhammad Ali, right? When we are in the boxing ring called life, you got to move, baby. You can't stand still so that you are a easy target for the world. No, improvisation requires acting in the moment, and agility requires movement. See, part of the reason that we're so easily deceived and manipulated by the dominant culture, yet global minority, is that we have too many among us who are ideologically, I got it out, stuck and stubborn, right? It's as if we've given in to the lies that nothing good can come from us or for us. It's as if we already believe that we can't win. Well, I got news for you, and I hope I have some people with me today that I will not face our children and their children with that kind of a disposition. I hope there's some people with me today that refuse to let our children believe that we can't win. That there is no hope for the future. So I came to tell somebody, stop living stuck. Stop being so stubborn. Be agile enough to cling to the truth and dodge the lies. Agile enough to miss the tricks and the traps, but to catch the road of righteousness. In fact, we should be audacious enough to say, miss me with that. Did you hear that? Miss me with that. Miss me with that fear and unbelief, fear of what might go wrong and not believing in ourselves. Miss me with that always looking for greener grass on the other side when you're not taking care of the grass that you already have. Miss me with that adults telling children that everybody shouldn't go to college. Let that young person make that decision for themselves. Miss me with that I'm not good enough. You have the treasure in your earthen vessel. Miss me with that my life is over. Baby, you just getting started. Miss me with that Christianity is the white man's religion. When you talk like that, all you do is show that you are either ignorant or uninformed or both. What you tell me is you don't take the time to read. You don't read the sacred scripture, and you definitely don't read world history. And I'm not talking about Western civilization. I'm talking about world history that starts in Africa. Come closer, because moving in this way is all made possible because the presence of God has emancipated us from the thing that the enemy thought that they could use to keep us in bondage. Boy, I think we're preaching now. Yeah, God has given us freedom. See, what the black butterfly teaches us is that God has given us the power of freedom. See, I recognize that pragmatically speaking, the chains of enslavement were legally but not true to life broken in 1863. But the truth forces us to admit that in too many cases, there are those who are within our ranks that believe that Jesus rose from the dead, but they're still in bondage. There are too many who are among us that know the scriptures about freedom, but they remain caught up in fear of reprisal from the dominant culture. See, there may not be any legal chains around us, but black people are still feeling the lash of those 244 years of bondage, even 159 years later. Think about the fact that we always told to forget about it, to move on with your life, when legal slavery in this country was in effect just 5 or 6 generations ago. This country is not that old. Think about it. They're trying to tell you to forget about it and get over it and move on. But the fact is, some of you that are alive today lived under the American apartheid system called Jim Crow. In fact, some of you had to work in it. So that's why I say there are still some chains left. There are psychological chains, that are on us because of generational trauma. I say that there are some financial chains that are still there by building an economy from which we did not benefit. I say that there are some sociological chains that are the result of redlining in housing and the commodification of education. I say that there are some some chains left, some spiritual chains from our having our true religion stripped of its efficacy, its spirit, and its power. I say that there are still some chains, some cultural chains from having been divested of our languages and separated from our families. See, you thought Obama and 46 minus 1 were the first ones to separate children from their parents. No, they're not the first ones. Massa and them did that a long time ago. They're cultural chains because we've been emptied of our culture. But I came to tell somebody today, even with those chains, that God specializes in breaking chains. Did you hear that? God specializes in breaking chains. May I tell you how? Check out John chapter 8, where it says the truth will make you free. That's right. You heard it. You heard it just like he said it, that God's chain busting, freedom giving weapon of choice is the truth. May I suggest to you that we stop living in the half-baked lies that the world tries to give us and start walking in God's truth. See, we're not talking about this kind of truth where they tell you, the truth is whatever you make of it. That ethereal concept of truth where they talk about, you can make the truth by just having a positive attitude. No, what we're talking about is a truth that every tongue will have to confess. What we're talking about is the truth that cannot be denied. What we're talking about is the truth that exposes the lie for what it is. Truth like economic power is found through economic unity. Truth like you can build the life or the community that you want according to the will of God. Truth like the love of money is the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil, but money answers everything. Truth like but you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, his own special people. Truth like they can call it a myth, they can call it an allegory, they can call it whatever they want, but my life says there must be a God somewhere. I'm almost done. But since we're talking about the black butterfly, we may as well admit that the black butterfly teaches us to strive for excellence and not success. I think I said something. Strive for excellence and not success. You need to check out Brother Cornel West as he breaks it down for us. But can I give you the domain version? Believe it or not, we were never created. We were never fearfully and wonderfully made to fit in or to assimilate into the will and the ways of this world. See, those systems will teach us to strive for individual success, while God's system tells us to be perfect or to be like him. In other words, to strive for excellence. See, striving for excellence seeks what is best for the community or your family, but striving for success seeks self-gratification. Striving for excellence contributes, while striving for success takes away. Striving for excellence seeks the greater good, while striving for success, says, I'm just going to do what's best for me. Striving for excellence builds bridges that connect, while striving for individual success builds walls that separate. So may I encourage you? May I encourage you to pursue excellence and to teach our children to pursue excellence instead of just chasing individual success. Your charge to keep, our charge to keep is to stand out and to stand above. That's excellence. The ways of this world to be driven by the love of God and the love for our people. We are not supposed to be just another part of the crowd that's living for the weekend and that's building monuments to nothing. No, we are signed, sealed, and delivered to be excellence, to pursue excellence, and to produce excellence. Excellence, excellence, excellence. Somebody say excellence. Excellence that says that there's a standard that cannot tolerate mediocrity, the mediocrity of this world. And I will not trade my divinely appointed favor for momentary satisfaction. Excellence that says that we trust God, that our labor for him is not in vain. Excellence that demands our best while success demands the most expensive. Well, I'm out. I hope you've been walking with me. I hope this notion of the black butterfly in all of its excellence has pricked something in your consciousness such that you will want to live as God says that we can live. But I need to tell you just one more thing before we go. I need to tell you that the coolest thing, the thing that stands out the most to me about the black butterfly is that the black butterfly can fly. Did you check that out? The black butterfly can fly. Now, I know that many of us, right, will never take the flight of birds, and many of us will never move with the power of a jet or a rocket. But can I tell you that God has designed us to fly? May I tell it? May I give it to you? Yes, in an old story that was passed down from generation to generation. It's a story that came from our motherland, from Africa to this new world, and has continued to be passed down among us. Perhaps you've heard it before. If you have, just say it along with me. And how it is that there were people who were in our community that had the ability to fly. God blessed them with wings such that they moved, they moved through the air just like we walk down a city sidewalk, but they were kidnapped and they were brought into this country and put into, that damnable system called slavery. And when they were put in slavery, they could no longer fly. Their wings would not do what God designed them to do. The story goes that there was a sister named Sarah working in the fields, and while she was in the fields with her baby on her back, every now and then she would slow down because she'd just given birth, and the master would require that the overseer hit her with the lash, and Sarah took it as long as she could until one day when the baby was crying and she could not stop the crying. That Sarah told the old man in the field, "I can't take this anymore." And so the old man whispered in her ear, "Kumyale, kumbaba, tambe," and Sarah began to fly. And the overseer and the master lost their minds because the sister took one step on the air and she gained her wings again, and she began to fly away. And the other slaves in the field ran to the old man and asked him what he whispered in her ear. And one by one, he began to whisper in their ear, "Kumyale, kumbaba tambe," and one by one, the Africans began to fly again. Now, again, I know that you might not take the physical flight with wings, but just like those Africans in that field received a word, when you receive a word, baby, you too can fly again. You too can fly when you recognize that the word says that God has not given you a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. You too can fly, baby, when you recognize and realize that with God nothing shall be impossible. You too can fly when you recognize and realize that you can do all things through Christ, which strengthens you. Now listen, I know that there's a lot of metaphor in that message, and there's a lot that you can't take literally. But I also recognize that just like God created the black butterfly, right? God created you. God created you to be free. God created you to be who and what he made you to be. So the first thing I want you to do, if you have not yet, is to hook up, to connect with us. First step is to believe and confess that you believe God through faith in the resurrection of Jesus Christ, that Jesus was lynched on Calvary's hill and that he is risen from the dead to never die again. Second thing is that if you believe in God through faith in Jesus Christ, but you're not connected to a group of people who believe in this idea of salvation and also of justice, who try our best to connect the spiritual to the pragmatic, you need to hook up with us. I need to tell you that we are really trying to do what God said to do. And that is to connect people to him, and then for us to be connected to one another. Lastly, sister, brother, if you heard this message and you're going through some things or you want to be stronger, please type connect in that box. Any of those two instances so far, you want relationship with God through faith in Jesus Christ, you want to connect to the Elm Grove Church, and then lastly, if you need prayer, type connect in that box, and someone from our team will be in touch with you in the very near future. Listen, man, you can start today, right? You thought you were just an old caterpillar. You thought, right, you believed the lies of the world that black ain't good for nothing. The devil is a lie, right? God has made something of you, and it's time for you to start walking in it. Now, before I let you go, I need to pronounce God's blessings on your life. I want you to flow with us as I tell you, the Lord bless you and the Lord keep you. The Lord lift up his face upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance unto you and give you peace and help and hope and joy and prosperity and justice and good success in your every endeavor. And all of the people of God said, amen. That means we agree. And ashe, that means it shall be. Peace.